Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex Beatsman, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now, Thursday, December 15th. Ian Cameron, and joined once again, you'll remember him from our season preview show. He joined us right before the NHL season began back in October. Back with us on the Ice Guys once again. It's Mike Krokock, our friend from overseas across the pond, where he's plying his trade for the Guildford Flames of the Elite Ice Hockey League and ripping it up there as well. Mike, great to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we were talking just before the show. I mean, your team over there, Guildford, my goodness, 23 games played. This is the EIHL over in England. His team, he plays for the Guildford Flames, 16 wins, 4 overtime wins. That's 16 regulation wins, 4 overtime wins, 2 losses in regulation, and 1 overtime or a shootout loss. 41 points, and they are 8 points clear of the second place team in the league, which is the Coventry Blaze right now. And meanwhile, a team like, I know enough about this league, Mike, to know that the Belfast Giants usually are one of the best teams in this league and one of the teams to beat. And they're kind of limping around right now down there in 5th in the league. Maybe that's just who knows what's going on with them. But usually they're a team I'm used to seeing doing well. But credit to your team, Mike. I said, here's Mr. First Place joining us here on the show today. Talk about how good things are going right now for your squad in this league.
Yeah, it's been good so far. We've had a really successful first half here. I think we kind of know that it's a little bit different over here, where the main trophy that you want to win is the regular season title. So we've had a great start, and we're just kind of hoping to build off that for the rest of the season.
Another thing too is, yeah, great start, and you're off. Are you worried about peaking too early? Does that come into the worries for you, or you just game to game, whatever happens? We'll just take it day by day.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more just kind of focusing on the game at hand and do what you kind of can do, and try not to look at the scoreboard too much, and just kind of play the way we should be, and hopefully that takes care of itself.
Yeah, we talked about finding a good time to bring you on one last time before the end of the year. Of course, Christmas holidays coming up. What's the plans for Christmas where you are overseas? Just taking it easy? What's going on there for Christmas?
Yeah, we just had some Christmas stuff with our team this past week. We've got we play 2 this weekend. I think we've got 1 more next week, and then we're off for a couple days over Christmas. My girlfriend's coming over, so it'll be nice to have her here again. And then I think we play on the 26th, so we're kind of right back into it. And then 2 games in New Year's, so it'll be busy coming up. So it's nice to stay into it though, and not off the ice for too long.
No, exactly. I mean, you don't want to have those 2-3 week breaks. Exactly. You're still going to end up playing, and you won't get completely out of playing rhythm over the holidays. Obviously, you're playing overseas. You may not get a chance to watch NHL hockey every single night, but so that's why we're not going to talk specifically about the 3 games last night. It was just a short slate anyway, but just some thoughts from you on the NHL so far, teams that have stuck out to you, players. Obviously, we just saw Ovechkin get number 800, but what's stuck out to you so far in the NHL season? We haven't talked to you since before the season when we did the season preview, but anything you've noticed in the NHL so far this year that stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the teams that we're kind of expected to do well seem to be off to a fairly decent start. It's kind of nice to see the Leafs they seem to be flying under the radar for the first little bit of the season when everybody was
everyone's damn hopes up again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like everyone was kind of counting them out at the start with a couple of losses here and there, but now that they've kind of found their stride, and their goalie tandems seem to be solid too. So, but yeah, Ovechkin scoring, what was it, 800, I think it was. So that's pretty cool to see. Probably won't see too many of those in a lifetime of any kind of player doing that again. But yeah, I mean, just Marner, obviously, with a big run for him as well. Just guys like that have really contributed for their team so far.
Mitch Marner, we will get to the Leafs. They are on the both teams, Capitals and the Leafs, are on the schedule tonight. We will get to them, and certainly you're right. What the Leafs have done, what Mitch Marner has done, has been absolutely tremendous during the last couple months. He's on a 23 game streak. He's looking to extend it to 24 tonight when they play the New York Rangers, and it's something about the Leafs where, we see them playing. I'll be honest, Mike, I've said this on the show the last, I would say, week or so. I've never seen this team play as good team defense, believe it or not, in the years as I've seen lately. I mean, you're looking at them as a 5-man group, all, with good structure. When someone on the blue line pinches in, you've got a forward there to support them. They always say the F3, the forward high in the zone. You got to make sure you support there. And they're back checking as well, more than I've ever seen in recent years. Maybe it took 3 defensemen being out. Of course, Riley, Brody, and Muzzin all out for a period of time. Only got Brody back recently, and they're still without Riley and Muzzin, although Riley is closing in on a return. But maybe that's what it took, Mike, to say, hey, let's get everybody to buy in defensively. Forwards help out the defense. 5-man group defensively, all areas of the ice, all shifts. And that's basically what we've seen out of them the last couple of weeks. And it's really been a big factor in propelling this red-hot run that they've been on.
Yeah, maybe it's just kind of like a conscious effort after having a few guys go down like that, especially long-term with Muzzin, Riley, those kinds of guys. But yeah, no, it's been kind of surprising with that just because of the holes that have been left on the back end from their absences. Obviously, they're huge parts of their team. So it's been a pleasant surprise, really, for Leaf fans.
Pleasant surprise, and they're happy right now. Will they be happy in April? Because really that's what's going to be the measuring stick of how good the season is or isn't, is finally getting that elusive playoff series win in the spring. All right, let's get into the Thursday card. It is a huge card. We've got 12 games on tap here in the NHL tonight. We will start with Philadelphia taking on New Jersey. We've got the Devils here laying a big price, minus 300. Home favorites in this game. The total 6 right now, pretty much across the board. Devils, I don't want to say they're in a slump. You can't go that far yet. But for the first time this year, they have lost 3 consecutive games. They were looking to avoid that fate the other night against Dallas. They end up losing 4-1, although 2 of the goals were empty net goals. So really was more of a 2-1 game. Just ended 4-1 as the Stars put in a couple of empty net goals in that game. Nobody's pushing the panic button here with New Jersey. All the quotes are still positive. We're a good team. We still win the week if we win our next 2 games and we get more points than we lost. That's what Eric Howla said. So, yeah, be disappointed, but there's nobody pushing the panic button here that we've lost 3 in a row. You'd like to think this could be the night when you snap out of it, facing, of course, the struggling Philadelphia Flyers, one of the worst teams in the NHL, just 9 wins on the season. And on a 4-game losing streak. Although I've said this about the Flyers, it's tough to lay a big number with them consistently because you still feel that at the end of the night, Mike, at the third period, you're going to be there biting your fingernails because one thing the Flyers have done consistently is battle, compete. Work ethic has been there. The problem with them is they just haven't had enough offensive finish. That's been their issue all season long. They could outwork the opponent, outshoot the opponent, and it's something that's happened regularly. They've actually outshot the opponent in the 4 games that they've lost in a row coming into tonight. And despite losing to Washington, they outshot them 30-25. The Vegas overtime loss, they had the edge in shots there. Same thing in the Arizona game, they lost in OT, and even against the mighty Avalanche, who haven't been so mighty lately with all the injuries, but still, outshoot the Avs 28-25, but they lose 3-2 in Denver the other night. So again, it's work ethic is good. Attention to detail defensively is good. There's a lot of elements of this team's game that you like, but they're just not paying off their offensive chances, and the shots and the expected goals are probably higher than what we're actually seeing go in the net right now for the Philadelphia Flyers. And that's the issue. They just don't have a ton of those big time offensive game breakers on this hockey team. They just don't. And it hurts even more when, you don't have Sean Couturier all year, who was counted upon so much for offense and especially the 2-way game at the center ice position. As far as the injury situation goes for this game tonight, Flyers and Devils, there are still a lot of injuries for Philly. We mentioned Couturier already. Wade Allison's still out. Tony DeAngelo on the back end is out. Cam Atkinson is hurt again day to day. with the upper body injury. Zach McEwen day-to-day as well. New Jersey has Bastian out, and pretty much that's about it. Palat's been out, but he's been out for a while. Carter Hart, Vitek Vanacek confirmed goalies in this one. Don't really have a strong feel. I don't have a bet on this game as of right now. I may not. Feels like a spot for the Devils to snap out of it. Maybe the first period if you want to back New Jersey. That first period puck line is not a bad price. You can get it at -0.5 plus 115 in this game. I think that's the only smidget of value you can get from the Devils in this game, because even the puck line is not exactly a great option, because to lay a full game puck line is -110 with the -1.5. So maybe just to jump on Philly in the first 20 minutes, 3 losses in a row, have that strong start, something the Devils might be looking for here. So I haven't bet anything, may not, but I lean at least to the Devils first period puck line there, -0.5 plus 115. Mike, what do you think here, Flyers Devils?
Yeah, I think you want to think that New Jersey would have a strong outing against them tonight, especially rival game with them being so close together. I think I just saw that the last few of their games have been pretty tight, 1-goal games. So it would be a tough one to kind of decide, just because you never know with those rivalry games. But you're right, New Jersey should roll them pretty well. I mean, just looking at the standings as well in Metropolitan, like Jersey's at the top of 44 and Philly's with 25. So it is a big difference. But again, you never know with these types of games where New Jersey coming off a loss, it could go either way kind of thing. Maybe they're down confidence, whatever. But you would hope that they'd come out and win tonight.
Yeah, it's just a question of value, right? How the hell can you get value out of the Devils when they're a -300 favorite? And to me, the only way you can is maybe look at that first period puck line here with the Devils side in this one tonight. I want to mention someone for Philly, though. He's been getting more ice time on the blue line, and I'm wondering if we're going to see props for him soon. But Cam York, he scored a goal the other night against Colorado, and the guy is shooting the puck a little bit too. So you might be able to get a little undervalued player prop look there toward him for the Philadelphia Flyers. Someone that's actually contributing a little something from the blue line offensively for them. We'll see how the Devils go. Again, the Devils have actually allowed 18 goals in their last 4 games combined. So maybe tightening up defensively is what they're going to look to do. So I would lean under the total actually in this game with the Flyers and Devils as well. All right, next we've got Dallas and Washington. Dallas -115, slight road favorites, 6 the total. Questionable spot for Washington, right? They had the big Chicago victory the other night, and Alex Ovechkin registers the hat trick, his 800th goal. They came off the bench to celebrate it when he scored that milestone goal. They had the big celebration in the dressing room after, pouring the beer on him. Yeah, that's right, Leafs. Beer. Beverages, alcoholic, liquor beverages, not water. We're not little kids. Remember, that's what they did with Marner several games ago. Let's get some real stuff going here. Yeah, beer on Ovechkin poured on him after getting that 800th goal. But nevertheless, so they've celebrated quite a bit. It's obviously a beloved player on the team, leader of the Capitals forever. Great career, 800 goals. Is there a little flat spot here for Washington coming back home after that? You do concern yourself with that. They are playing well, no question. And like I said, I'm trying to tell myself don't bet against Washington right now because they are playing their best hockey of the season. I'm saying that, Mike, because they were one of my target prime bet against teams early in the season. I said, this is not the same Washington team. They were beaten up to shit with injuries, to begin the season. And they actually still have a bunch of key players out, but I think Tom Wilson will be back soon for the Capitals. They're slowly getting healthier. They got TJ Oshie back recently as well. They got their best defenseman, Dmitry Orlov, at least best defensive defenseman back. Still have Fehervari out on the blue line. Darcy Kemper's still out. Hagelin's still out. Wilson not quite ready to return. Backstrom hasn't played yet this year. Lars Eller now is day-to-day, a game-time decision with an upper body injury tonight. So there's still a bunch of key players here out for Washington. I'm just concerned about the spot after such a momentous night for OV the other night. Do my Craig Laughlin impression. Wow, that's a big goal, Joe B, for Alex Ovechkin there. Number 800 for the Caps. One of the great goals he scored. Great job by OV there for the Capitals. That's if you know Craig Laughlin, the longtime analyst of the Capitals, you know his voice. And that's probably what he would sound like there calling the game the other night. But Yeah, I definitely lean hard to Dallas. I have not pulled the trigger yet on the Stars. The Stars are not in the greatest of, in terms of they've played a lot of games in a short period of time right now. So it's, third game in 4 days for them entering this game, but they are off 4-1 win against New Jersey. A nice bounce back after losing against Pittsburgh the other night. Jake Ottinger confirmed in net. Charlie Lindgren continues to I wouldn't say dazzle, but he's played well. He's played a lot better than I thought, and he's actually won each of his last 5 starts in net for the Capitals. And, Alex B. Smith, my colleague on the show, said the other day, this is a guy that's actually been great at the AHL level at times. It just hasn't translated to the NHL level in the past for him. Well, now it is starting to just a little bit. So I haven't bet the game yet, but definitely a strong lean to Dallas here in this one. I'm mulling it over right now because I do question this spot for Washington, and I still think negatively of them more than positively. But I will say this, they are playing some of their best hockey. They're on a little run now. They've won 5 in a row. Although I will say as well, they've beaten Philly, Seattle, who are struggling again a little bit, and Chicago, 3 of the last 4 wins. So sisters of the poor, a little bit of an element with that in those victories. What do you think here, Mike? Dallas, Washington?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you never know after a kind of monumentous night for Ovechkin and the team like that, and then coming home, and is it a distraction for them? Do the fans do kind of a little celebration for him tonight after that? You never know with that kind of stuff away from the game. But then again, like I think they've won 5 in a row now, so it's a tough spot to be able to count them out of this game. But Dallas is a good team. I mean, their penalty kill percent's 3rd in the league right now, and same with their face-off, their goals for, games played, that sort of thing. And they're a good team. So they're on the road. Yeah, they've had a tough couple games here just with travel, and I think you said however many nights. It's a tough sledding for them. But again, like these are the kinds of games that you're looking to win coming into the Christmas break kind of thing. So I'm sure Dallas will be ready for them tonight, and it should be a good game regardless.
Yeah, and there should be some. By the way, if you're going to do SGP, you're going to construct some same game parlays in this game. If you're going to do player, points, you've got to include Rope Hintz right now for the Dallas Stars. He has been on a big time heater. We're talking 10 points in the last 7 games for Rope Hintz coming into this game tonight against the Washington Capitals. He's been terrific. I mean, and Ovechkin, part of me says, hangover spot after getting number 800, but part of me says keep riding this guy, because look what he's been doing the last 4 games. He's got 7 goals and 9 points in just the last 4 games. 7 goals and 9 points in the last 4 games. So I think you've almost got to include Hintz and Ovechkin in points parlays if you're going to get involved with that tonight in this game. Are you going to strive for something like that, Mike? There, 9 points.
I mean, I didn't realize that Ovechkin had that many points in that short amount of time. But yeah, I mean, you never know with that.
That just shows you. And you know what? We said this yesterday about Ovechkin. He's not scoring those end-to-end rush goals like he used to. Remember early in his career, Mike, he'd go up and down the ice and score off the rush. And he's not scoring those kind of goals as much, but he's changed his offensive game where he's now going to the net a bit more. He's still got his office set up that still teams can't figure it out. Still, after 16 years of him being in the league, that he goes to the face-off dot for the one-timer, especially on the power play, and yet he still can't be stopped doing that. So it's just been remarkable. He just finds the dead zone and coverage, and bam, still finds the spot and has that lethal one-timer, but he's still able to score. He's maybe the way he scores has changed a little bit, but he's still able to score goals, and he's proven that right now. No question about that. All right, Seattle and Carolina. We've got Carolina minus 200 home favorites here, 5.5 the total in this game. I'm sticking to my guns here, even with the Mr. Beach Ball, as I call him, Martin Jones in net here for Seattle, and he can't stop one half the time. Martin Jones in net for the Seattle Kraken. He did get a better performance out of him in his last start. Remember, over the weekend against the Florida Panthers, and Seattle won that game by a score of 5-2. And Martin Jones was in net in that game. So it was a better performance from him in his last start. Prior to that, it had been rough. But how can I all week long talk about how I'm worried about this spot here for Carolina off the long road trip. It was very successful. It looked like they were not leaking oil, but it looked like they were just struggling to get over the finish line at the end of that road trip against Detroit the other night, just hanging on with a 1-0 win over the Detroit Red Wings. Now you're back home, and this is where you could see the being on the road. And it's not just being on the road for, I believe it was 6 games, that road trip. Yeah, 6 games. You went through multiple time zones, east to west, west to east, and now back down south, as you return home. You started in Pittsburgh, you went to St. Louis, you went out to LA, and then Anaheim. Then you went all the way back to the Eastern time zone, played the Islanders, then played Detroit, and now you're back home. That's a lot of travel. It's a lot of time zones you've changed in a short period of time, in a little over a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And now you're back home. So very, very difficult spot, I think, for Carolina. But we are seeing some leveling off from the Seattle Kraken, a team that couldn't be stopped for a while on this great run. And now they've kind of gone in the other direction, 1-4 in their last 5 games. The road record is suddenly, not quite like it was. They've started to lose on the road where they had been almost unbeatable. They're 1-2 so far on this road trip that they've started here. They lost to Washington. They beat Florida, as I mentioned, with Jones in net. And then they lost 6-2 the other night to Tampa Bay. So Seattle, again, definitely regression, definitely not playing nearly as well. I don't think they're playing as well in their own end. That's definitely something to keep in mind. Carolina on the other side, you've got Pyotr Kochetkov, that's the biggest fear I have about taking Seattle tonight, is Kochetkov is the real deal. He's going to be the future number 1 goalie for this hockey team. He's now 7-4 with a 2.01 goals against average and .926 save percentage on the season. He went 5-0-1 on the road trip for the Carolina Hurricanes in net. I mean, he's in great form, but I do think there could be an issue with his team in front of him. When you return home, sometimes you're a little sloppy. You make mistakes. You turn the puck over in areas you shouldn't. Your puck management is a little bit dicey when you're off a long trip. You're mentally and physically not as sharp, as you normally would be. So I'm going to still take that shot with Seattle here, again, at a plus 170 price. And I think after getting drubbed by Tampa Bay, you'll get a good effort from them. You just hope they can capitalize on their chances. You hope they can find ways to beat a red-hot goaltender. And you hope their own goaltender, Martin Jones, who's been more bad than good, although hopefully we get the Martin Jones we saw in his last start against Florida, where he was better, led them to victory. Hopefully we get that version of him tonight. So I'm going to lean to Seattle here and take them for a small bet, plus 170. 5.5, I like the over a little bit too, because we know Seattle has been in some higher scoring games lately. The defense has not played as well. Jones in net, he's always good to give up a couple. And I think even with Kochetkov, and I think I could see Carolina having some sloppy play in front of him. Tough spot off the long road trip. So 5.5, I definitely think the over might be worth a look, as long as you can get that number. Because the 5.5s, as I've mentioned all year, we haven't seen them as much. But when we've seen 5.5 totals, they've been going more to the over than the under. What do you think here, Mike? Seattle and Carolina.
Yeah, I was just looking, and I saw their last meeting. Looked like it was in Seattle, and Carolina won 5-1. So, yeah, it was back in October. But that sort of thing still stings for teams. Like, they don't want to get blown out, especially if it's at home. And then, like you said about their goalie with Carolina, they've won their last 2 games, and they've had shutouts, but they're only winning 1-0 and 3-0. So a goal here or there, the other way kind of thing, and it's a completely different game, right? So, and then Seattle coming off a big win at Florida too, 5-2, and then a disappointing one, 6-2 to Tampa. Like, that's kind of a great scenario for a nice big bounce back game for them, with not a lot of travel in there too, just going from Florida to Raleigh. So, I mean, I like Seattle here as well. I think Carolina's kind of ripe for the picking right now for them. So as long as they can kind of keep scoring goals and maybe keep Carolina's offense at bay, then they should have a good shot tonight.
It has all. Look, they're really good right now, Carolina. Seattle's leveled off a bit. I get that. Kochetkov is terrific. What is it? 5-0-1. He went on that road trip. I get all of that, but it's got all the makings of the classic situation where we've seen it for years in the NHL. A team off a very long and very successful road trip, and you come home, you lay that egg, you lay that clunker, or even maybe you don't play that bad, but you still, it's a struggle, it's a grind, to play in a spot like this. It really is. So hopefully Seattle can capitalize on that here tonight down in Canes country, the Caniac Nation, as they call them down in Kakalaki. As far as props go for that game, I mean, I always say with Seattle, there's so many different ways you could go about it because they usually get a bunch of different players stepping up and contributing for them on a nightly basis. As far as Carolina goes, we've talked about, obviously, Natchez, how good he has been for the Hurricanes. Don't sleep on Paul Stastny, the old veteran, because now he's up on the top line. He's gotten a goal and 2 points in the last 3 games. He's taken the place, obviously, of Sebastian Aho, who's still out for Carolina, and he's been chipping in some offense for them. We know Natchez has been excellent all season long. And then for Seattle, I mean, take your pick. Alex Wenberg, Burakovsky, Beniers, of course, goes without saying. He's been terrific. Jared McCann, I think, is a little undervalued in the prop market right now. If you look at McCann, he scored 3 goals in the last 6 games, 4 points in the last 6 games for him. So some good options here in terms of the prop market here in this one. All right, LA, Boston. We've got Boston minus 240, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. Boston continues to roll on home ice. Their only home defeat this year still to the Vegas Golden Knights in the Bruce Cassidy Bowl over a week ago when he made his return to Boston as a head coach of the Golden Knights. And you could tell Vegas was going to be amped up to win that game for him, and that's exactly what happened. And other than that, they've been unblemished at home. It hasn't been as easy for them, though, lately. I mean, they've had some close calls. They beat Carolina in overtime. Tampa Bay win at home was pretty close. They need a shootout to survive the Islanders 4-3. In their last home game, but they're not a team I'm stepping in front of on home ice right now. Just not going to do it, especially with LA up and down and more down than up. Now, you do have LA off an embarrassing third period. Really, it was. I mean, that game was scoreless going into the third period. Mike, we were on our Ice Guys live betcast on Tuesday night, and I think all of us, Alex, me, some of our viewers, we had Buffalo. We had over 3.5, 5.5, and 6.5 goals in that game. And we were staring at 0-0 going into the third period. And we're thinking at that point, holy fuck, we could lose all 4 of these bets and go 0-4. And like, this is going to be a disaster. And then sure enough, the Sabres get 6 goals in the third period. And we end up going 3-1 with those 4 bets. Buffalo cashes over 3.5. The live bet we took over 3.5 came through. The over 5.5 cashes because they got that 6th goal with about a minute to go. And we went 3-1. The only thing that didn't come through was that initial over 6.5 for the game because it ended 6-0. You talk about a little Christmas miracle a couple weeks ahead of schedule. That's what that game was, Mike. For me, Alex and a bunch of our BetCast viewers made us very happy the other night. But obviously that's a horrendous third period for LA. They are going to want to make amends for that tonight. I'm sure you're going to get a hard effort from them. But will it be enough to win against Boston on the road with their defensive issues, with Quick struggling in net? Copley has been actually a little bit better than Quick lately. And as far as the goaltending for this game tonight goes, Phoenix Copley is again getting the start here for the LA Kings. Now, he was in net for the Buffalo game, and the 6-goal onslaught in the third period. And all of a sudden, like, his goals against and his save percentage were pretty good before that third period. And now all of a sudden it's 3.33 and 884 save percentage. But it tells you all you need to know as well where LA thinks Jonathan Quick is right now. Obviously, they think he's struggling, that they're giving Phoenix Copley, a journeyman goalie for years in the Washington organization, the St. Louis organization, AHL for a bit, that they're giving him back-to-back starts here for the LA Kings. So, lean over actually in this game. 6 the total. LA has kind of been trending that way with their defensive struggles. They've gone over the total at a 5-3 clip in their last 8 games. Meanwhile, you look at series history here. We've seen 4 of the last 5 meetings between the Bruins and the Kings go over the total. 2 of the last 3 in Boston have gone over the total. So I think the over is the bet that I might look to pull the trigger on here with Kings and Bruins. What do you think here, Mike? LA, Boston.
Yeah, I think I like the over bet as well. It's hard to kind of bet against Boston at home, especially right now. And I don't know if LA is the team that's going to come in and beat them at home either. Just looking at some of their team stats for Boston, their power play percent's 3rd in the league, penalty kills 1st. Their goals against average is 1st in the league as well, giving up just over 2 goals a game. So I think it's hard to bet against them, especially to lose. But again, they're a team that can score as well, right? So taking that over is I like that play a lot, especially with LA contributing to that as well, because they can score too. So yeah, I like that bet.
All right, liking over the total here in this one. Copley confirmed. I think Allmark will be in net for Boston. Hasn't been confirmed, but you would expect him to be in net after the victory against the Islanders. And then, of course, he was in net against Vegas as well. The only start Swayman has had in the last week was that Arizona game, and I figured they'd give him that game. But definitely it's been Linus Allmark has just been remarkable for the Bruins. That being said, if you actually look, he did give up 3 goals the other night, and he's not going to, pitch a shutout or give up only one every single game. And I like betting teams to strike back offensively, Mike, after being shut out. Do you find that when just playing the game all these years, that when teams get shut out, they get blanked like LA did? There's more of a focus on let's get our freaking offense going. Let's focus on maybe getting that side of our game going and put the puck in the net when you get blanked the previous game.
Yeah, sometimes maybe it's a little just more emphasis on simple things like go to the net kind of thing. So, yeah, when you're a team and you get shut out the last game, you're definitely looking to rebound from that and try to put up as many as you can the next one. That's for sure.
It's a betting angle that I don't always go that route, but often I like to go that route. I think I consider it at the very least. Team gets shut out the last game, they have a bounce back offensively the next game. And that's why I think the Kings might find the back of the net here. But am I going to trust the Kings penalty kill, which has given up 5 power play goals in the last 2 games against this Bruins team, which has been ripping it up with the power play all season long? I mean, we've got the 3rd ranked power play in the league, Mike, in the Bruins, and the 28th ranked penalty kill in LA. So that's why I think we get goals both ways, in my opinion, here tonight with the Kings and the Bruins. All right, next up, Anaheim and Montreal. And a good game for if you're going to take point props and any props with Boston players, look at the power play points props tonight. You'll get better prices. You've got a matchup advantage where you have a great power play against a struggling penalty kill. If you're going to take Bruins player props, sweeten the pot, if you will, and look at the power play points because you'll get better prices with that. All right, Anaheim, Montreal minus 155, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. Anaheim could tell us that they're going to go through a wall tonight after getting shut out by Toronto 7-0, and I still wouldn't have an interest in backing them at all. Not one damn penny on this Anaheim team right now. Not going to do it. In theory, conceptually, Mike, when you get absolutely embarrassed 7-0, I mean, the Leafs basically scored a touchdown and kicked the extra point against the Anaheim Ducks the other night. You're supposed to want to bounce back. You're supposed to be livid, angry. Pride takes over. And as a hockey team, you play, with your hair on fire, not literally, but figuratively, after a loss like that against Toronto. You would think you see that from Anaheim. They've got a rest advantage as well. They played Tuesday night in Toronto. Montreal plays last night in Ottawa, so it's a back-to-back for the Canadians here. Although it's a short trip, as you know, Ottawa to Montreal. It's not a big travel situation there, very short. You can take a train, take a bus down the highway, whatever the case. You don't even have to fly if you don't want to. But definitely, it's still an advantage in the situational department for Anaheim off a brutal loss and the rest advantage over Montreal. And I still can't back them, even at plus 135. That's how bad they are, Mike. Yeah. They're on a rest advantage here over Montreal. They've got absolutely destroyed by Toronto. You'd think they want to bounce back strong, but they're playing so porous defensively. They can't get a save. They can't stop anybody in their own zone. I still have my doubts, and I still can't back them. I still don't trust them enough to back them here in this game. But I'm not going to lay $1.55 with Montreal either. They're on a back-to-back. It's a stay-off game for me. Honestly, Anaheim's going to have to show me they could defend a lick. Seriously. They've got to show me they can fucking defend a lick right now because they're giving up 7 to Toronto, 6 to San Jose last week. Let's not forget that. They gave up 6 to Ottawa. Only 3 to Ottawa. So that was actually a good defensive effort by their standards. But 6 to San Jose, 6 to Toronto. Montreal team total could certainly hit in this game. Wouldn't shock me. It's over 3.5. I guess I would lean that way, but I don't know. I'm probably more likely to stay off the game than bet anything side or total. What do you think here, Mike? Anaheim, Montreal.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch Anaheim either. That's for sure. Yeah, I think a rested Montreal team probably could do some damage like Toronto maybe did. But looking at some of the team stats for Anaheim, their goals against is the worst in the league. Goals for is the worst. Penalty kill percentage is the worst, and their power play is 30th. So it's a tough one for them. I don't think I'd touch them for a while here, just with how cold they are. But yeah, it's minus 155 for Montreal. I don't think it's worth it to take that either. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's Lucas Dostal, by the way, I should point out, is going to be the goalie tonight for the Anaheim Ducks. They think he's got the potential to be their future number one. Of course, we don't know yet. He hasn't had a big enough sample size at the NHL level yet to make that, make that distinction. But he is going to be in net tonight. The last start he had was against Ottawa, and he did make 35 saves on 38 shots. So again, like usual, Anaheim gives up a shit ton of shots, and he actually played okay. Given how sieve-like this defense has been all year. He only gave up 3 goals, which is actually not bad. And then he had to come into the game against Toronto the other night after Gibson got pulled. And unfortunately for him, he gave up 5 goals on 25 shots in that game. So it was pretty rough for Dostal in that game. But again, the whole team was just brutal in that game against Toronto. And his overall numbers this year are actually 5.39 goals against, 849 save percentage. But again, he's only had the 2 starts, and that Toronto game where he's filling in takes the spot of Gibson, that basically inflates his goals against and his save percentage in a game where, look, I think they quit, honestly, Anaheim in that 7-0 game. So I don't want to, look at those raw numbers for Dostal, 5.39 goals against, and say he's that bad. He was thrown into a brutal situation against Toronto. Team had nothing going. They were getting ripped apart defensively. Gibson had already been pulled. I think now this is going to be a more accurate assessment of how good maybe this kid can be long term. I don't know. This is, in theory, conceptually, this is a spot I'm supposed to show up and play like it's game 7, of a playoff series when you get embarrassed like that. But we'll have to see if they can take advantage of it. All right. And by the way, for props with Montreal, Slavkovsky, Caulfield, Suzuki, take your pick. Any of those guys, I think, are Doc, who, again, continues to be undervalued. Do you know, Mike, that he's been on the top line for Montreal for weeks with Suzuki and Caulfield? Kirby Doc, who was a nice addition from Chicago. They've been pricing him at plus 500 in some books to score a goal, and he's on the top line. I mean, it's the kind of shit you got to take advantage of. Yeah. And I've been looking to bet him to score a goal. How do you have someone that's been on the top line for this team at plus 500 like he was last night at some books? So great. Shop around. You'll get a good price on Doc tonight, once again, for the Montreal Canadiens. All right, Pittsburgh and Florida. We've got even money here, minus 110 both sides, 6.5 the total in this game. Florida Panthers, one of their best games in a while the other night, albeit it was against Columbus. Pump the brakes. Don't get too excited. I mean, Columbus has their issues, but it was a step in the right direction for an inconsistent Florida Panthers team. There's no doubt. Better job. Bobrovsky getting a shutout. I mean, I almost have to make sure I didn't have too much beer that night. I mean, seeing that Bobrovsky actually got a shutout. Holy mackerel. It's been a while since we've seen that from goalie Bob. But, at the same point in time, you still get those stoke the fires of competition and wanting to be at your best when you play your former team. And he was playing Columbus that night. And definitely, I think that played a part in how well he played in that game. I was thinking maybe Spencer Knight would be ready to return tonight because Paul Maurice has been hinting for a few days now that we'd get close to the time when he'd be ready to return for the Panthers, but not yet with that illness. It looks like it'll be Sergei Bobrovsky once again confirmed in net tonight for the Panthers in this game. There's a flu bug running through the Panthers, too. I was reading something from George Richards, Florida Hockey Now. And by the way, nationalhockeynow.com are great partners here for the Ice Guys show. Make sure you're checking out their team websites. So many of the beat writers and the reporters do a great job, great insight on the teams. George Richards saying that there's a little bit of an illness thing going around with the Panthers right now. And you can see it in the terms of their lineup tonight. Matthew Tkachuk's dealing with it. He wasn't at practice today, and he may not play tonight for the Panthers. Carter Verhaeghe, who's been just absolutely phenomenal for them this season. He's also dealing with that same type of illness that's running through the team. He's also day-to-day. They're gutted at the center ice position. Chris Tierney, Anton Lundell, Colin White, all at the center ice position are either questionable or out for this game tonight. So all of a sudden, you could be looking at a shorthanded team that's maybe not feeling 100% as this little illness runs through the group a little bit. right now. And then on the flip side, you've got a Pittsburgh team that's playing outstanding hockey right now coming into this game. Penguins have played great at both ends of the ice. Their entire game, Mike, is coming together. Crosby's been insane. This is remarkable. He's 35 years old now, and he's actually playing some of the best hockey he's played in years, coming into this game tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Crosby, in the last, I believe, 14 games, he has, in terms of goals, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11 goals. And in terms of points, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 15, 19 points in the last 14 games for Sidney Crosby. So he's been excellent. He's turning back the clock. He's healthy. That's a big thing, too, because we've seen him suffer a few injuries. He's missed some time the last couple of years. He's healthy now. Absolutely, he's been, and that makes a huge difference for Pittsburgh. Rickard Rakell has been really good. That whole top line for Pittsburgh it's impressive with Crosby playing at the level he's playing at, and then Rakell and Gensel, his line mates. It's been a terrific line. Now, Jason Zucker is out. They'll miss him. He's had a nice season so far for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's out indefinitely, week to week, lower body injury, 6 goals, 14 assists for him. Jeff Petry's on IR as well, but Chad Ruedel comes into the lineup. I don't think they skip too much of a beat. Maybe you miss a little of the offensive upside Petry brings, but Petry can sometimes be shaky in his own end. We saw that with Montreal. We've seen it at times with Pittsburgh. Chad Ruedel actually might be a little bit better in terms of steady defensive play in his own zone. So it's not a huge drop-off, in my opinion, there, with Ruedel taking the spot of Petry on that Pittsburgh blue line. So I like Pittsburgh here. Even money, minus 110. Florida's going to have to show me they can beat more than Columbus before I'm ready to back them in this game. Bobrovsky, trust him to have 2 good starts in a row. I'll see it before I believe it. Let's go with Pittsburgh here, minus 110 in this one for me. Ride this Penguins team, playing their best hockey right now, 6-game win streak. And look, they've beaten some good teams too. Vegas, they beat Buffalo twice, who, are a better team this year. Dallas in their last game. I'm going to ride it here. Penguins, even money. What do you think here, Mike?
Yeah, I think you nailed it with Crosby playing some of his best hockey right now. It's kind of been unbelievable. You'd think that he'd have a bit of a regression coming into this season, especially as age is creeping up and some injuries that he's had over the last few years. But he seems to be kind of clipping along well right now. I think he's at 38 points in 29 games or something like that. So it's hard not to jump on board with that guy as your leader right now, especially if you're a Penguins team that's looking to kind of move up the standings a little bit and just be in that top half with the other elite teams. I think they're tied with Carolina right now at 38. So I like Pittsburgh here. I do think Florida's a good team with them being at home, but again, the Bobrovsky factor where you kind of don't really know, and it seems like they are missing Spencer Knight, and with a couple call-ups, seems that that flu bug might be going around in their team right now. So I like Pittsburgh tonight here as well.
Nobody's been dealing with any of that shit with the Guildford Flames. You've been all healthy boys, all you guys?
Yeah, for the most part. I think we just had a couple little sicknesses here and there, but other than that, no, we've been pretty good so far, knock on wood.
Not surprising when you got 41 points and you're leading the league by 8 points. You probably are healthy. You're probably doing something right and avoiding injuries and staying healthy. Touch wood, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Exactly right. Pittsburgh for me here in this one, minus 110. You know what's something, and I'm reading this now, the Malkin line with Brian Rust, although Zucker was a big part of that, so they're going to have to see who's taking that spot. You know that my bargain bin goal scorer prop senses are lighting up at who's going to take that. It's Danton Heinen. It looks like it's going to play on that second line with Evgeny Malkin and Brian Rust. You know what that means. Prop value on Danton Heinen moving up the lineup. I think that's a good value-laden player prop option tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But that line with Zucker on it, with Malkin and Rust, number 2 in the league in goals expected. I mean, holy mackerel. And they've already got the Crosby, Gensel, Rickard Rakell line right now rolling too. So both of the top 2 lines for Pittsburgh doing a remarkable job right now. So keep an eye on that. Definitely you've got situations that look optimal, in my opinion, for These top two lines, you could put a bunch of those guys in player points props tonight in terms of a same game parlay. And I would definitely look at Heinen as well, points and goal scorer prop. He'll be undervalued as well. I do want to mention a prop from the New Jersey game because we talked the New Jersey game earlier. I forgot to mention this because this is one of the most important ones, I think. We've seen Fabian Zetterlund. I've mentioned him before for the New Jersey Devils. Very talented player. He was kind of pushed down the lineup for a while. Lindy Ruff's putting him back on the top line tonight for the New Jersey Devils, Fabian Zetterlund, and he will be playing alongside Tatar and Nico Hischier on that top line for the Devils tonight. Value with Zetterlund for sure. Top line, not going to be priced like it. Going to get more opportunity, going to get more power play time as well for this game tonight against the Flyers. So let me just take a look at what the price would be for him, Fabian Zetterlund, because he's going from the fourth line to the top line tonight. You can get plus 410 on him to score a goal. Wow. Whew, top line. Yeah, sign me up for that one.
You never know, right? So.
Yep. And when they get those opportunities, players going up the lineup, I'm sure you've seen this before. Players going up from the fourth or the third line to a top six forward role, they're flying out of their skates. They want to make an impact. They want to take advantage of the opportunity. So it's conceptually, I think it makes sense to look in these directions when you're seeing the player moving up the lineup. I'm also looking up to see who else is in that situation. I'll tell you what, I had Curtis Lazar, Mike, in that same situation last night for Vancouver. Score a goal, moving up to the top line. He didn't, but man, he had chances. Like right early in the game, like he got stopped by Markstrom, and he was right in a point blank chance. And that's all you can ask for. Get the chances, and if he finds the back of the net, one of these players moving up the lineup at a plus 400, 500 price, that's definitely what you're looking for. All right, Columbus, Tampa Bay. We've got Tampa Bay minus 310 home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. The Lightning playing great hockey, took care of business against Seattle the other night. Mikhail Sergachev on defense looks like he is questionable for this game. Banged up, might not play tonight, says John Cooper, the head coach. So game time decision for him. 17 points in the last 14 games from the blue line for Sergachev. So he's been racking up the points. He's been chipping in offense from the blue line, quarterbacking the power play, doing all of that good stuff for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So if he doesn't play tonight, they'll definitely miss his presence in this game. Definitely the Jackets might have an opportunity. First of all, here's another team off a shutout loss. Jackets lost 4-0 to Florida the other night. We talked about this with LA. I think teams in this spot, they look for their offense more than their defense. Like, let's get our offense going. We got blanked in the last game. I think the Jackets will look to do that tonight. And they get Brian Elliott, the backup goaltender for Tampa Bay tonight, not Andrei Vasilevsky. So a little bit of a break there for them. They are still banged up. Again, 4 starting D, Bean, Blankenberg, Boquist, Werenski out of the lineup. They're just going to simply have trouble keeping the puck out of the net, and especially with the way Tampa Bay is going right now. You got to believe Tampa Bay is going to be able to find the back of the net here in this game against Danil Tarasov, by the way, is going to be in net for the Jackets. Jonas Korpisalo remains on IR. Elvis Merzlikins continues to be Elvis Merzlikin in net, as in he's leaking oil, leaking pucks right now. And I hate to actually make light of it because I think, like I've said, a lot of it is due to that tragedy that happened with his teammate, his countrymate, Matisse Kivlenieks, passing away in that fireworks incident. He has not been the same goaltender ever since that happened. I think he needs a change of scenery. I honestly think he should get dealt out of Columbus. Sometimes you just need to get away, fresh start, clean slate. Maybe Merzlikins needs that right now for Columbus. But it'll be Tarasov in net. Believe it or not, he's got the best numbers of any Columbus goaltender this year, and it's still below average. 3.17 goals against average, 912 save percentage for him. Tampa Bay should still find the back of the net. You look at what they've been doing lately offensively. They've been scoring goals. Columbus, I think, after getting blanked, and they get Elliott, not Vasilevsky, in net, they'll score some goals as well. I like over 6.5 here with Columbus, Tampa Bay tonight. Mike, what do you think here, Jackets and Lightning?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I do like that over. You got guys like Laine who are starting to heat up a little bit. I think he's got 7 points his last 5 games, and then how can you go and think that Nikita Kucherov won't get a goal or a point tonight as well? So those kinds of guys are there for a reason. And that over 6.5 looks like that'd be pretty good, especially with some struggling goaltenders and even a backup goaltender going in tonight for Tampa. So yeah, no, I like that. I wouldn't want to take Tampa straight up with the 310. But yeah, I think the over 6.5 looks pretty good.
All right, Mike. This is a pretty easy trivia question, but I'll throw it at you regarding Brian Elliott. He has a 6-1 record in 7 starts this year, and a 3.39 goals against average, 895 save percentage. What does that tell you?
What does that tell me? I mean,
6-1, but a 3.39 goals against average.
Yeah, I mean, he's given up a lot, but his team's kind of bailing him out, obviously.
There you go.
That's the thing, is that just maybe that having him in net makes them play a little tighter on D, but who knows, right? And at some point that's going to give up at sometime. So you would need a little more from him.
Yeah. So again, 6-1. He's been winning games when he's been in net. He's been giving up goals. Like, it's been situations where basically Tampa's winning these games like 5-3, when he's in net, or 5-4, 6-4, something like that. So just be careful with that in terms of Elliott, because you actually look at his recent starts. You've seen a 5-2 game, a 6-5 game, a 5-4 game, a 5-3 game in his last 4 starts. All of them clearing 6.5 goals, by the way, total goals. So definitely liking over 6.5 here, Jackets and Lightning. This is on the short list of candidates for best bet, actually, at the end of the show. I haven't decided if this will be it, but it's got the potential. And yeah, prop wise, definitely there's a bunch that we could look at here in this game tonight. It goes without saying that Stamkos, Kucherov, Point, those 3 guys have been just remarkable. What's Point got? 5 goals and 6 points in the last 4 games. Yeah. Stamkos has got he's on a point streak. Yes, he is. He's on a crazy point streak too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 game point streak now for Stamkos. So wow. This is a good game to go. Stamkos put some point props together with Point, with Stamkos, with Kucherov. Nick Paul's chipped in some goals. You could go in that direction. Ross Colton and Corey Perry, are starting to get their depth scoring going for the Lightning as well. Perry's got 2 goals in the last 3 games. Nick Paul all season long has chipped in offensively. Ross Colton has 3 goals in the last 6 games for the Lightning, 4 points during that span. That's why they're winning like they are right now, Tampa. They've got everybody contributing offensively. The big guns are firing, and even the depth forwards are contributing. Tough to beat them when that's happening, for sure. All right, next up, we've got, as we continue along here, Toronto and the New York Rangers. In this one, we've got the Leafs, one of the better games of the night. Leafs minus 120, road favorites at Madison Square Garden, and the total 6 across the board in this one. Both of these teams are playing good right now, Mike. Definitely. I mean, the Rangers went through their little slump, but they're definitely playing better hockey right now. They've turned it around. We'll see if they can keep it going tonight against the Leafs. I have my doubts, though, because if you actually look at the Rangers, Colorado was banged up. Vegas was in a tough spot back home after the big Boston win where they beat Cassidy and handed the Bruins, or Cassidy and the Golden Knights, they beat the Bruins. They came back home. They lost to the Rangers, bit of a tough spot. St. Louis is struggling mightily when the Rangers beat them. So the New Jersey win was impressive because they were down in that game. But the other ones, you put a little asterisk beside them. I just think the Leafs, in their victories, they've looked overly more impressive in all facets of their game compared to the Rangers. Like, they're defending, all their big guns are contributing. They're getting their depth scoring as well. I mean, like I said, they're playing like a 5-man unit defensively. Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov. I mean, Kyle Dubas looks like a genius right now. I mean, there's nothing else to say other than that. Now, maybe we're proven otherwise in a month or 2 from now, or in the playoffs if they shit the bed, But right now, he looks like he struck the jackpot essentially, because Samsonov and Murray have been outstanding, and he got them for pennies on the dollar. Brought him in the offseason, and look at the way they're playing right now for the Leafs. I do like Toronto here, minus 120. I haven't bet the Leafs often. I don't bet the Leafs often, but I find you get their best in games like this, good competition. I find they raise their game when they're playing Rangers and Tampa Bay and Florida and teams like that. They've been like that, the last few years. I think the Leafs are going to find a way here tonight, minus 120. Murray confirmed in net as Sheldon Keefe continues to go back and forth with both of these goalies because they're both playing well. And I think he figures, let's just give one guy a start, and then we'll give the other guy the next game. That's basically the way he's been going about it. So, yeah, for me, I'll go with Toronto here, minus 120 in this one. What do you think here, Mike?
I like that too. I think coming off a big win like that, you sometimes might worry about kind of a loosey goosey style of game for the next one for them, just thinking that maybe it's point night again. But I think going into a big building like MSG is, right, you almost need your A game every time you go there. And a team like Toronto kind of knows the significance with that and wanting to beat a team like that. So, I like the Leafs tonight as well. That value seems pretty good. Usually they're a little worse than that. So it should be a good game, though. I mean, that'll be an exciting one to watch.
Totals wise, this could go either way. With the way the Leafs are defending, right now, the goaltending they've gotten, you would think it goes under. But at the same time, they're lighting it up also right now. 4-5, 5-7. That's the goals they've scored in the last 4 games. And the last 3 meetings at Madison Square Garden, Rangers and Leafs, we had a 6-3 game, a 5-3 game, and a 6-3 game. All of them going over the total. And I don't know. I just get a gut feel it goes over tonight. Do I love it? No, because I think it's a tough total. It could go either way. And both teams can play a higher scoring brand of hockey and a lower scoring brand of hockey. But I don't know. The trends that I'm seeing from both teams offensively point that maybe that game can go over the total tonight. And the Rangers, too, during the win streak, 6, 5, and 4, in 3 of the 4 victories. They only scored 1 goal against Colorado, and then they won in a shootout. But Colorado's trying to bring everybody into a tighter checking style of play. That's the way Colorado's been playing lately with all the injuries they have. So even the Rangers have been perking up offensively. So I guess I'd lean over 6 here with the Leafs and the Rangers tonight as far as the total goes. Prop-wise, I've been doing this, Mike, with the Mitch Marner situation. He's going for 24 consecutive games with a point tonight. I've been taking him to score a goal and over points. And it's a nice plus like 180 type of price. And these have hit more often than not. So if he scores a goal and he gets 2+ points, you have a good chance with that. And that's usually the parlay I've put together in Leaf games lately, and it's actually cashed in more often than not. So I might look in that direction one more time here tonight. What's scary too is we know Nylander and Marner and Matthews have been great lately. Well, Alexander Kerfoot busted out of a slump the other night with 2 goals. What if he gets going? Pierre Engvall's starting to get going offensively for you. Like their bottom lines are now starting to score as well. So scary stuff to prepare for when you're playing the Toronto Maple Leafs right now for sure. All right, Nashville, Winnipeg. Next up, we've got Winnipeg minus 155 home favorites in this game, minus 160 in some spots, total 6 across the board in this one. Winnipeg has been a thorn in my side the last couple games because I've taken them 2 games in a row. I should have stayed off them in the Washington game, but I really did like them against Vegas, and we were on the betcast that night, and very disappointed in the way they were playing defensively. They just couldn't hold a lead. Vegas always answered. Maybe not one of Hellebuck's better games, but I'm coming right back to the Jets tonight. This is the end of this homestand. They've lost the first 2 games of this homestand. They don't want to go 0-3 before they go on the road. You got a Nashville team that is down and struggling right now. They lose to Ottawa. They get shut out by St. Louis, 1-0 in their last game. They cannot score goals. They cannot put the puck in the ocean right now, the Nashville Predators. That's an issue. I think you get the Jets bouncing back. I think you get Hellebuck in net bouncing back as well. We know he's bounced back, Hellebuck. Do you know how good he's been in his career with the Jets when he gives up like 5 or more goals in his previous game? He has been just nails the next time he's been in net for them. So I'd expect that kind of game from Hellebuck tonight. I'd go Winnipeg first period puck line because I think, again, the slow starts, they want to erase those. You can get plus 155 with first period puck line. I'm going to go with Jets in regulation, get that down to even money. A Nashville team total under with the way they're struggling and the way Hellebuck bounces back after a bad game. I don't mind that bet at all either. And full game under, I think, too, because I think the Jets are going to win like a 4-1 type of game. I could see it being like 4-1 Jets, 3-1 Jets, something like that here tonight against this Nashville Predators team. So it's basically Winnipeg first period puck line, Winnipeg in regulation, and I would certainly lean full game under and Preds team total under as well. What do you think, Mike? Preds Jets?
Yeah, I like the Jets as well tonight. I think just the way that Nashville's been playing lately is just kind of tough. And I think I've said all year long is just that the Winnipeg team, they just find ways to win. And coming off like coming back to their home rink in Winnipeg, and I'm sure Nashville doesn't really want to be in Winnipeg, Manitoba tonight. So it might be a good one for them to really put it to them. And again, like you said, I mean, I really don't think Hellebuck's going to give up too many tonight. And Nashville doesn't really have that offensive power that we're used to seeing them with having the last few years. So I like Winnipeg tonight and even that under as well.
All right, liking the under and the Jets, Mike, in this one as well. And in terms of the goaltending, it is confirmed on both sides. UC Saros, Connor Hellebuck, your goaltending matchup here in this game. As far as the Jets props, I think more of it's going to be focused on better cleaning it up in your own zone tonight. So the Jets might be comfortable with, a 3-1 win, maybe not looking to load up the offense tonight, but Perfetti on the top line is undervalued. Mikey Esimont has moved up to the second line for the Jets. Carson Kuhlman is going to be in the lineup tonight. He was claimed off waivers just a few days ago from Seattle. He had 1 goal, 2 assists in 14 games with the Kraken earlier this year. They're putting him on the third line with Adam Lowry and Axel Janssen-Fialbi on the third line for the Jets. How do you view it with the guy, collected off waivers by the Jets, thrown into the lineup, I believe, tonight for the first time with the Jets because he didn't play against Vegas? Want to make an impact? That's what I assume. This guy wants to come in there, make an impact, play a hard, strong game, and maybe get on the score sheet. So I'm always tempted when I see these situations. Guy gets claimed off waivers. They put him in the lineup for the first time. I sometimes want to bet that player in some form from a prop standpoint.
Yeah, it always seems like a guy coming off waivers, obviously probably didn't want to be put on waivers. So going to a new team, a fresh little start, you never know, right? Playing in a different situation with different players, and you're getting all sorts of different opportunities than kind of what you're used to. So a fresh start, and that could do wonders for a guy, especially in that first game when you've got the juice and trying to prove some people wrong and why they waived you.
Yeah, you mentioned the Predators too. Not crazy. A lot of teams, maybe not crazy about being in Winnipeg, playing a game there. I know people that live in Winnipeg. They're not crazy about being there. Keith Grondin, you've seen him on the show before. Anybody that's watched the show, he played at Lakehead University, college hockey, university hockey. He lives in Winnipeg now. He's constantly ripping apart and bitching about the place he lives. I mean, it's just fucking Winnipeg, shitpeg, and all this stuff. I mean, it's way too harsh on his hometown. You live there, man. You should be trying to raise it up, not tear it down. Come on.
Hard to do when it's that cold.
Yeah, it is. That's what does. It just makes everybody miserable. It's exactly it. No doubt. All right, Vegas and Chicago. We got 3 games left. Vegas and Chicago here next up. Vegas minus 210, actually minus 200 to minus 210 in that range as road favorites, 6 the total in this game. Vegas, obviously a very nice win against Winnipeg the other night, because we talked about the reason I liked Winnipeg as well in that game, Mike, was who was out of the lineup for Vegas. They had no Jack Eichel. I would say their best 2 defensemen, Alex Pietrangelo and Shea Theodore, were both out of the lineup as well for the Vegas Golden Knights in Winnipeg the other night, and still were able to get the job done and pick up a nice victory against a surging Winnipeg Jets team. So very impressed with Vegas. This is kind of smells like a bit of a flat spot for them, but at the same time, they're 13-3 on the road. They've been absolutely outstanding away from T-Mobile Arena this year. They start that road trip with that win, as I mentioned, against the Jets. Played really, really good hockey away from home, Vegas. Make no mistake about it. And although I will say they did lose their last visit to Chicago, and in fact, their last 2 trips to the Windy City, Chicago was on the winning end of both of those games. So this has been one building where they've had some issues here, the Vegas Golden Knights. But Chicago has been obviously in a free fall, 1-9 in their last 10 games, 4 straight losses coming into tonight. There's games where they get shut out, like they did against the Devils and the Islanders, and then there's games where they get absolutely lit up and given up a ton of goals. Thank goodness Arvid Soderblom is good to go here for the Blackhawks, because Peter Mrazek ain't it. I mean, it's cotton candy and plastic body parts for him, and that groin of his, it's being held together by duct tape and glue at this point. for Peter Mrazek. And then when he does get off a groin injury, he's not very good at the moment, unfortunately. So it's a bunch of issues with him. He got just absolutely destroyed by Washington the other night, gave up 7 goals in that game. So if you're Chicago, you're trying to. If you're Luke Richardson, you got to think, I got to put anybody in but Mrazek right now. And he's going to go back to Arvid Soderblom tonight, who has actually played decent at times. You know, he had the great start against the Rangers. He's given up 3 goals in each of his last 3 starts, but he's faced a shit ton of shots, and it could have been a lot worse, quite honestly. So the guy's actually played a little bit better than maybe we thought coming in, because last year it was a bit of a struggle. But he's had some decent starts. Will he have a good start here tonight? That remains to be seen. As far as the series history, 3 of the 5 have gone over the total. I kind of lean that way over the total, but I'm less reluctant, or I'm more reluctant, I should say, to bet an over with Chicago with this young kid in there compared to Mrazek, because he's actually been a little bit better. He's been serviceable at times. And this is a team that gives up a lot of high danger, a lot of high event opportunities, high event chances, lots of defensive zone time spent by Chicago. They get hemmed in all the time. Goalie's got to be good if they're going to have a chance to be competitive. And Soderblom's been that at times this year for the Blackhawks. So I guess I kind of lean over, but nothing super strong. What do you think here, Mike? Vegas, Chicago?
Yeah, obviously, I think it's pretty well known that Vegas is probably the better team. But then again, like if some of these guys are out of the lineup tonight, like Eichel, obviously, and then like Shea Theodore and a couple other guys, then it does make it a tough night in Chicago. So do I want to back Chicago all the way? Not really. I do like that over though at 6, just because both teams can score. They do have certain guys who can step up and put the puck in the net, and I mean the goaltending isn't all that great either. So, and just looking at their records, I mean Chicago's 1-8-1 in their last 10. So, if Vegas can come in and put up a few, then maybe you'll get a little bit of a pushback from Chicago in their home rink. So yeah, I like that pick.
All right, good stuff there. And by the way, that's a great point about the props there for Vegas. I've talked about Paul Cotter. You know, he's been undervalued a little bit for the Golden Knights, and he's still on the top line with Stevenson and Stone. But you know, this blue liner for them, Daniil Miramonov, he's played well. He got his first career NHL goal, and he had 3 points in the victory against Winnipeg the other night. He's been shooting the puck too. Two shots on goal, 3 and 3. It's basically 8 shots on goal in the last 3 games combined. So I don't know if books are going to have Miramonov props, because they don't always have them for every defenseman, especially, you know, defensemen that have just joined the team and been inserted into the lineup recently. But if you can find them here on him, Miramonov, that might be something to consider here, because like this guy is definitely, and it looks like we've got a goal prop for him. We just don't have points props and shots on goal and things of that nature with Miramonov yet, but you can get plus 700 on him to score a goal. So there you go. And he just scored one in the last game, and he's shooting the puck a lot. So, you know, you could do a lot worse than that in terms of a value-laden prop option for tonight's card. All right, St. Louis and Edmonton. We've got the Oilers minus 165, home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. Blues returning home, the Oilers, I should say, returning home following a mini 2-game road trip through Minnesota and Nashville on back-to-back nights. They lose in Minnesota 2-1, and then they end up beating Nashville 6-3 in their next game. You know, it's really, really amazing how every single Edmonton victory, you know, if you look back over their last 10 games, every Edmonton win, they have scored at least 4 goals. You know, it seems like, you know, they don't score 4, they don't win. You know, that's what you get from the Edmonton Oilers. And so if you like Edmonton, you know, and you take the team total over 3.5, because they're not going to win unless they get to 4. Why on the hell would you take a money line on the Edmonton Oilers at minus 170, or even the reg line, you know, and risk overtime, which is always a risk with Edmonton because nothing comes easily for them at times. You know, just go over 3.5. If you like Edmonton in the game tonight, just go over 3.5 on their team total, because every recent Oilers win, they have scored 4 goals minimum. So to me, that's what makes sense. I like Edmonton team total here over 3.5. If it's Campbell in net, Campbell soup, I might end up going with the over in the full game. But I think it's going to be Skinner. Yes, it is. It's Skinner. It is Stuart Skinner for the Edmonton Oilers in net tonight. And obviously he has been the best goalie for Edmonton. There's a reason Jay Woodcroft's given him more starts. And look, I like what I'm seeing from Nugent Hopkins lately. Hyman, Holloway, I think, could get going. Yamamoto, I think, is due at home to score. He finally got his first goal in a recent home game. There's some good prop options for Edmonton. I know St. Louis finally won a game against Nashville, 1-0, but it wasn't very pretty. It was an overtime win against a team that can't score goals right now. Probably going to be a lot tougher for them here tonight against the Oilers. And I don't know what the exact numbers are, Mike, but I know St. Louis off a win has not been nearly as good lately. I'm looking at it now. Yes, they beat Florida 5-4, came back from the dead. They beat the Panthers. They lost their next game after that. They beat the Islanders 7-4. We thought maybe they would get back on track after that, and they lost their next game. So they have not been able to follow up a win, the St. Louis Blues, with another one. So I think Edmonton probably wins this game, especially now that Skinner's in net. Binnington is in net, and he was great against Nashville, but he only faced 20 shots. He's still been struggling for the better part of the last month. I've got to see more and a better offensive team he's going up against here, obviously, with the Edmonton Oilers. So Oilers team total over 3.5, around -110 is what I'd be looking at here in this game. Mike, what do you think, Blues Oilers?
Yeah, I like that team total for Edmonton. Even just looking at their last few matchups here, I think it was Edmonton 3-1. Yeah, 3-1 on October 26th, and St. Louis actually beat them 2-0. So, but yeah, no, I like Edmonton here. You got to think McDavid's got at least 2 points in him. Same with Draisaitl. So you're there. You're close to 4 goals already. So especially like the last 10 for St. Louis, 3-6-1, and with a deadly power play at 31% for Edmonton, like you got to think that they're putting up a few tonight on them. So yeah, I like that team total tonight for Edmonton.
All right, team total over 3.5 here, and we got to flash this comment up about our guest Mike. Dude with the hat looks like a smaller, I think skinnier is what you meant to say there. Skinnier version of Chris Pronger. There you go. Have you heard that one before?
No, that's a first. That's for sure.
No, you hit like Chris Pronger too. I know it, right?
I don't know about that.
Yeah. And you fight like him, right? No.
Yeah.
Hell of a defenseman back in the day. I mean, what a career he's had. Actually, I saw him on television on Sportsnet the other day. So he's still around and kicking, enjoying the retirement life right now. So yeah, I'm looking at an Oilers team total over 3.5 here. Mike agrees here in this game. All right, final game of this massive Thursday card. We've got the Buffalo Sabres and the Colorado Avalanche. We've got Colorado -190. Home favorites in this game, and the total pretty much 6.5. Yeah, it is 6.5 pretty much across the board in this game. I think we've got a live dog potentially here. I'm not saying that as someone, I can't wait to hear someone say, well, you grew up a Sabres fan, and of course you're going to say something like that. Let me explain this first of all. Colorado's still very much banged up, right? They've still got a ton of injuries, and it's really impacted them negatively lately. Nate McKinnon's still out. Byram and Manson on the blue line, 2 huge losses on the back end. They've gotten a little bit healthier. We saw Arturi Lehkonen come back from an injury. Big Val Nichushkin recently came back from injury for the Avalanche as well. And so they're starting to get a little healthier. And as a result, I would start to think they're going to play a little bit better as they get more of their full complement, their full lineup back. But let's look at the 2 victories for Colorado. They had that rough 4-game losing streak as the injuries mounted, losing to Boston twice, losing to lowly Philadelphia in Philly, losing to the Rangers in a shootout. And yeah, they've won 2 in a row, but they beat a struggling, fledgling St. Louis Blues team, 3-2 in that one. Not overly impressive. And then their life and death hanging on by their fingernails against Philadelphia. You know, a Philadelphia team that beat them in Philly, you would think they'd want to put the boots to them in the last game against the Flyers, and they're hanging on, and they were lucky Philly didn't tie that game. We were on the Betcast Tuesday night watching that game end. Philly came this close to tying the game. So things are not coming easily right now for the Avalanche, and Buffalo lost to Colorado at home just recently, 6-4. They didn't play that bad. You know, that game was back and forth. Sabres made a good account of themselves, and that was a Colorado team that's obviously much healthier at that time than they are now. Sabres kind of up and down, 3-2 their last 5 games. They had back-to-back losses against Pittsburgh, but as we've mentioned, Pittsburgh's surging right now, winners of 6 in a row. They beat up Columbus, they beat San Jose, they beat up LA 6-0. the other night. Now they start this road trip through Colorado, Arizona, and Vegas. I think there's opportunity here for Buffalo in this one. Now they've had obviously struggles at times against Colorado. Colorado's won 8 in a row head-to-head versus the Buffalo Sabres. We've got to overcome that, obviously. And that's something that, I have some fear of, that the Sabres have just not done well against the Avalanche head-to-head, 8 straight losses to this team. But, you look at the injuries, although it looks like Evan Rodriguez, too, might be back tonight for the Avalanche, which is significant. You look at the situation in net where, Georgiev and Francouz have been a little bit more up and down with their level of play in between the pipes in recent games. The Buffalo Sabres, I think, have a shot in this game. And that's all I'm looking for here when I'm talking about Buffalo at plus 160 in this game. Could be one of those games where, and as John X mentioned, or someone else mentioned, that Buffalo might run out of gas in the third period. May not be the worst idea, that if you kind of like Buffalo like I do, split the first period and the full game in this game. Maybe you take Buffalo early, where the legs are there. You know what it's like in that thin air and high altitude, right? It just, you hit the wall sometimes in the third period, and that's when Colorado can get you. But yeah, the first period is plus 135 on Buffalo, and the full game is still a very appealing plus 160 and even plus 165 at some spots here with the Sabres. So I'm going to take a shot with the road underdog here, Buffalo, at the plus price. This is a tough game from a total standpoint, Mike. Buffalo's been heavily trending over, but since Colorado's had all the injuries, they've been heavily trending under in their games. So I'm going to leave the total alone. What do you think here, Mike? Buffalo, Colorado.
Yeah. What would be the Buffalo team total for tonight?
Oh, I like that you asked, because that's another way there's many ways to back a team. You don't always have to look just at the money line. You could look at the team total, and I often do that with big underdogs. So that's probably something that's worth your while as well. Buffalo team total in this game is over 2.5 minus 135.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I suggest that is just because of the Tage Thompson effect, that how well he's played the last handful of games. I think he's got 12 points in the last 5. So, I mean, that could be a look that some people are looking at for a night in Colorado. Again, like you said, with the high altitude and thin air and all that kind of stuff, it does play a difference. Going into a third period, if you're a team that's kind of had to defend a little bit all night, then who knows, right? Colorado could strike on you then if you're up by a goal or two. But Buffalo's a good team as well. So I think somebody said that they're 1-9 in Colorado. I mean, it's a different Buffalo team now, I think, than previous years, especially with going into Colorado with how great of a team they've been the past few years, but even injury riddled. So I don't mind Buffalo here, especially that, that 2.5 for them as well. But yeah, who knows with that one? That's a tough one.
Yeah, the 2.5's an option, though, definitely. I think. And one thing I've done before too, Mike, is I don't put everything on the money line. Sometimes with the big dog, I'll put a little bit on the money line, a little bit on the team total, because there's been many times when the underdog does not win the game, but they get to 3 goals and they lose like 4-3, something like that. Where if you take the team total and you split it up between the team total and the money line, you at least you don't lose the entire amount of your bet. Or bets. So that's definitely the advantage of doing that. And yeah, in terms of the goal scorer and the player props for Buffalo, I always say just spread the wealth around with them, because Tage Thompson's the main event, right? The star attraction.
Yeah.
But don't sleep on Middlestat, who's starting to get it going. JJ Peterka, Dylan Cousins, Jack Quinn, that entire second line right now for the Sabres are on a roll for them right now. Jack Quinn, JJ Peterka, and Dylan Cousins. Point props and goal props with all of them right now have been worth a look for the last few weeks, and I think probably worth a look again here tonight against the Avs. Again, we don't have the goalies confirmed yet, so we think Anderson and Georgiev are projected to be in net, but none of those have been confirmed as of yet. There you go. That is the card. That is the 12-game NHL card for this Thursday. Mike, that's a hell of a job, because we have guests that come on Thursdays and Tuesdays, the bigger slates, and it's like putting them through the paces. It's like you've run a marathon. And then we got people that are on our shows sometimes on Wednesdays when there's like 2 games. And it's like, geez, you got off easy.
Yeah. What a night for a Thursday night.
Yeah, it is. It's a great night of hockey. There is no question about that. Looking forward to seeing, obviously, how the games play out here tonight in NHL action. So we thank everybody for joining us. Again, hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube. 225 live viewers right now on YouTube. We appreciate that very much. Hit the like button. The YouTube channel is up to over 3,000 subscribers now, which is excellent. We love to see it. Over 3,000 followers on Twitter at the_Ice Guys, I should say. So make sure you're following us there on Twitter as well. We appreciate it very much. And also support the sponsors that support this show. Get the best Delta 8 cannabis products on the market, shipped quickly and discreetly from Gramco, one of our 2 new sponsors here of the Ice Guys Show. Visit thegramco.com and use promo code IceGuys to save 25% on every order. And with any order on the site over $50, shipping is free. So check out Gramco and their wonderful Delta 8 cannabis products today and use the promo code IceGuys. And of course, manscaped.com, take advantage, of that, the great products that are for men. Keep yourself trim in all the key areas. Of course, for me, it's always been ear hair. It's pissed the hell out of me. Nose hair, especially. Like I said the other day, it's like someone's tickling your nostril. It pisses you right off. And you can take care of that with the Weed Whacker. The Lawnmower 4.0 will take care of you as well in any area of your body, keep you in good shape with that. Manscaped.com. Again, free shipping and 20% off from any products on manscaped.com using the promo code IceGuys. So check that out. Manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping using the promo code IceGuys. All right, best bets to wrap it up here for this Thursday edition of the Ice Guys. Mike, great job. We'll get you back on again later this season in the new year. What do you like for best bet here for a Thursday?
I do. It's hard to bet against the Leafs, especially with how good they've been. I think that'll be my pick for tonight's Leafs over New York tonight.
All right, that will be on my card. Won't be best bet, but it will be on my card as well. Toronto Maple Leafs minus 120 against the New York Rangers. Best bet for me, for Mike, I should say. Best bet for Mike Krokock, our guest today on the Ice Guys Show. My best bet for this Thursday card. Let me just see here. It's a good one. It's a tough one, actually. I'm going to give you 2. I'm going to give you 2 because I can't choose between them. Side and a total. Pittsburgh minus 104 is the best price out there right now. Pittsburgh minus 104 against Florida. I like the way this Penguins team is playing right now. 6 in a row. Ride the hot hand, if you will. Penguins minus 104 against Florida. And I'm going to go with Columbus, Tampa Bay over 6.5 minus 120 as well. So there you go. A little bonus 2-pack of best bets for me on this Thursday edition of the Ice Guys. Pittsburgh minus 104 against Florida. Columbus, Tampa Bay over 6.5 minus 120. Let's see if we can get the 2-0 sweep with the best bets here tonight. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. Mike, final words before we wrap this up. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on, and thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate it very much. And a reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For our special guest, Mike Krokock, good luck to him and the Guildford Flames. Keep ripping it up overseas in the EIHL. Keep that first place record intact. We wish them all the best. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Friday, a Jimmy Murphy Friday edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.